What makes someone better than someone else? What makes me better than you? Is it because I'm more popular? That's not true, but is it because I am bigger? Well, based on the facts in ancient China, being better than someone else was based on 4 different points. It was based on sex, age, education, and occupation.
Let's say gender.
Today, Eru and I will be talking about the evolution of Chinese social hierarchy and the similarities and differences from ancient to modern times.
China practiced a social hierarchical structure where society was split into 4 specific classes. The first class is the Shi, which is the gentry scholars. They were the highest class out of all the ranks. They wore fancy clothing such as silk robes to symbolize their social status. They had the right to ride in chariots, command battles, and they were very well educated too. They had various jobs such as advisors, clerks, overseers, and scribes. They also served in various civil functions and entered into governments of various levels such as district, provincial, and federal levels. Scholars, even those who owned land, were never very rich, but they were respected for their knowledge. The early Shi came from the ancient warrior caste, but gradually evolved until it was mostly made of aristocratic scholars in order to occupy positions of ranks. This class was known as a warrior class because they were known for their warrior skills.
The class right below it is the Nong, which were the peasant farmers. Now, farming played a key role in the rise of Chinese civilization. Farming was important because the food produced by the farmers kept the group stable and was able to be used to pay for land tax. And because of this, agriculture was considered very important and was long called the economic kingpin of Imperial China, which meant farmers were also very important and was also long considered the fundamental base of the country. Now, not only did the farmers produce for the group, but they also provided services for the nobles and those who were above them. Tax and services for those who were above them. And because of what they did and because of how they served for the community, they set a good reputation. And throughout history, kings and emperors would place a strong emphasis on the development of agriculture.
The next class is the Gong, which are the artisans and craftsmen. They were those who had skills to create useful objects. This class was identified by the Chinese character that stands for labor. They had a significant role for the country. They worked for one of the two sectors, private sectors or government sectors. Many worked for individual projects and businesses. They provided textiles, potteries, and worked in various architectural works. They commanded more respect than merchants because the skills they had were passed down from father to son. The distinction between Gong and Nong grew negligible during the Ming and Qing dynasties.
Finally, the Shang, merchants and traders. Now, this was the lowest class in the social hierarchy because they didn't produce anything and instead gained profit from other businesses. Now, this class was comprised of 4 different groups of people: traders, sellers, shopkeepers, and bankers, who all lived in small towns and provided services and goods for those who were ranked higher than them. This particular class was also, throughout history, this class was also depicted as greedy, crafty, calculating, and most importantly, a destabilizing factor to the royalty's rule. And as a result, commercial activity were most likely to be suppressed and restricted until modern times. Now, to conclude, these 4 classes we have just presented were strongly prevalent in ancient China's social hierarchy. However, with time, these classes also exhibited reformations in their structures. And I'll first begin with the Han Dynasty and how things slowly started to change. Han Dynasty. After the Han Dynasty, there was a partial restoration of feudalism, where wealthy and powerful families would emerge large amounts of land and dominate important civilian and military positions of the government, meaning they were able to give these positions to their family members and the people in their clan. So the Shi, the position that is in the top of the hierarchy, that position was being given away to those who were at the bottom. from merchants and traders, those who didn't belong at the top and were at the bottom were starting to slowly gain power, meaning which kind of showed how the hierarchy was slowly starting to lose some meaning.
A little while after that came the Song Dynasty. During the Song Dynasty, the social strata was clearly divided and enforced by the law. At the bottom of the pyramid was the commoners. Those commoners were split into two groups, the Fanguoku, which are the city dwellers, and Shengsenhu, which was the rural population. The ranks of the commoners could change as one who acquired more wealth could be promoted to a higher rank. Gentries and government officials was the class above. These include the gentries and the royal family. During this period, the institution of concubinage grew. The social restrictions of the remarriage of widows were also strengthened.
Then came Kublai Khan, the fifth Khagan of the Mongol Empire, who was also the founder of the Yuan dynasty. Now, the Mongol rulers of the Yuan dynasty also introduced a new policy known as colored population statistics. Now, this policy brought in something new, and it divided commoners according to their occupation. Farmers, soldiers, craftsmen, physicians, Confucian scholars were all categories that fell under this policy. And not only did the Yuan dynasty introduce a new policy, but they also started to introduce slavery, where slavery started to form in the hierarchy and is slowly getting more and more common in the Yuan dynasty. And the main sources of slaves was captives, kidnapped commoners, and criminals.
The Ming Dynasty. The numerous categories of commoners were reduced into only three categories: soldiers, commoners, and craftsmen. These castes were hereditary and fixed. Moving from one category to another was virtually impossible. The subcategories of the three main categories were most specific and profession-based. However, the class at the top stayed the same. Before the Ming Dynasty, the Shi was the most respected, but during the Ming Dynasty, capitalism helped the Shang, which was the lowest class, rise, and more common people took part in businesses.
Finally, Qing Dynasty. That was Ming Dynasty. Finally, Qing Dynasty. Now, throughout the dynastic periods of China, slavery was starting to slowly get more popular. And throughout the Qing Dynasty, social structure was very strict, and the social structure dictated who had power over who. Now, in the Qing Dynasty, the rich people had slaves, and the very rich people had slaves that had their own slaves. Now during this period, having slaves was known to be an important pathway to social advancement.
The social hierarchy from now since the ancient day hasn't changed a lot. The emperor was the ruling class in ancient China, and the Communist Party is the ruling class in modern China. The upper class in ancient China were the soldiers and nobles, and in modern China are the doctors and lawyers. Middle class in ancient China were the artisans and peasants, and in modern China they are the businessmen and workers. The merchants and traders were the lower class in ancient China, and in modern China are the unemployed people. Family is valued throughout both civilizations, and children are taken care of, and the elderly are respected. So in conclusion, the four classes were the Shi, the Na, Gong, and the Shang. And each individual is placed into one of these levels. The individual's age, gender, and occupation education define someone's place in the levels. The social hierarchy in modern China and ancient China hasn't changed a lot. The above four classes were strongly prevalent during the dynastic periods of China. With time, the classes also exhibited reformation in the trade industry. The attitudes of people about the social classes also changed along the way.
Here are citations.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to end up going over a little